Hi, I'm Maggie,
Hi, I'm Grace, and this is
a very bookish podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 14. I can't believe it is this long we have been doing this podcast. It feels like maybe a month we've been doing this, maybe 4 episodes, but we are now on episode 14, and today we are going to be talking about the book The Shadows Between Us by Tracy. Can you help me with this name? Trisha. Sorry, I can't say her name, so I always say it wrong.
It's like that thing where like you skim over a character's name that you can't pronounce, and it's just like
Yeah.
just her name. It's by Trisha Levenseller.
Levenseller.
Also was the author of Daughter of a Pirate King and Daughter of a Siren Queen. So
yeah. I read this book about last week. I read it because I had to stop reading Akasif for book club. I was gonna finish if I didn't stop reading it, so I literally read 2 other books before finishing Akasif. But I really enjoyed this more than I did my other book that I read. Just because this is a true like Slytherin book. It's exactly what she says. In the dedication is I'm gonna just read it real quick before we start getting into this, because this dedication is like one of my all-time favorite dedications. And it says, for Becky, I can't think of anyone more deserving of this Slytherin romance. Thanks for reading it first. And then it says, it's cool not growing old. I like being the eternal stud. Damon Salvatore, Vampire Diaries, Season 1, Episode 4. The fact that she brought in like pop culture into her dedication really solidified it for me. Like, I read that and I was like, oh, it's gonna be this type of book. I was really excited.
Yeah. When I read the dedication, I kind of laughed at myself a little bit because I'm just like, okay, there are 2 types of girls out there. And there are the girls who shipped Stelena.
Yeah.
And those who shipped Delena. Like if you loved Damien, you're definitely like top tier girl. And if you shipped Stefan, it's like
I always found Stefan annoying.
You know what's funny with that, real quick? My brother once he came up to me, he told me that a girl he was talking to asked him, like, mentioned Vampire Diaries, and he asked, because of me, he knows it. He asked me, like, he asked her who she liked better, Stefan or Damien, and the girl said Stefan. And as soon as he said that to me, I was like, and he was just like, why? What does that mean? And I'm just like, I don't really know exactly what it means, but it's just like a different vibe.
They're the people who like the like friends to lovers, the more of the like
they're the softies.
they're the
bubbly.
traditional relationship people who like to just have an easy, fast-paced whirlwind romance.
I don't know. I mean, that's me too, but I still appreciate Damon. I don't know.
I mean, I like didn't like Stefan from like midway season 1. I was just like, I knew he wasn't gonna be the first. I knew he wasn't gonna end up with Elena because it was too fast that they like fell in love. I was like, there's gonna be some
that, instant love.
Yeah, the instant love, instant attraction. Whereas I kind of liked, because Damon, I like how we're going off topic, but it's fine. But Damon is definitely more of a slow burn romance, because she has feelings for him, but they are on the back burner because Stefan is the one that's the pot is boiling for him right now, and then Damon eventually comes up and becomes her main love interest. But I think she like always had feelings for Damon, but she's always had to put it on the back burner because of Stefan. Always did. It's not.
He's more of like the appetizer, while Damon is the main course. It takes a lot more prep time.
Yeah.
So okay, back to the book. Fair warning ahead for any listeners: if you haven't read The Shadows Between Us, turn back now. This is a full spoiler episode. If you haven't read it now, go ahead and read it. It's a great book. It's a standalone, very fast paced, very easy. I think I gave it a 4-star review. You can, I think my review's up on Goodreads for that. If you want to go check it out.
I put my review up on Instagram. Under if you go to my Instagram, you just find the shadows between us photo. My review is right in that caption. It's the same as my Goodreads. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And here's my reasoning. I loved the book. I loved it. But I had to dock 0.5 stars because it was so slow, because it was so fast and such a short book. I needed a longer book. And that's why I had to give it a 3.5 because I needed a longer book and I felt like she really could have pulled
She
it
could
off.
have she could have stretched this out to at least a duology.
She could have put this as a duology. She could have made this like a easy like 500-page book and it would have still been amazing cuz I
Mhm.
feel like I needed more scenes between
It was just so good. It
it
was
was
so
it was
good that it just,
yeah.
you wanted to be in it.
You
But
were she left you wanting more.
yes, yes.
You wanted more and you wanted more of the tension between the two main well, we all know the two main characters now, which is how do you say their names?
I'll see them in a little bit. But
Okay.
yeah, spoilers starting now. Um,
Yes.
so we have Callias
Who's the Shadow King?
and we have
Alessandra?
Alessandra.
Alessandra. So my first tab, I did tabbing. I started doing annotations for books for the podcast. I did not do for our next one. I have not done annotations because I actually enjoy the book
What's
and
our
I want
next
to like what
what's our next one?
We Hunt the Flame is going to be the next one.
Oh, that's right. Look at me and not knowing what book I have to read.
But so I had annotations for this and my like key is like moments I loved, quotes I loved, and moments and then like metaphor and foreshadowing. And then I also have like a food description one because the descriptions of food in this book was very interesting. I didn't when somebody I posted on the Instagram like what I should do one of them and somebody said food and I was like, "Okay." I didn't do it at first and then I saw the first food description. I was like, "Oh, this is why." And so I started doing it then. But I starting with the first page, everybody who's probably read this has read that first sentence which is they've never found the body of the first and only boy who broke my heart.
And can I just say, way to start off a book strong. I mean, that's just gonna, let alone that's just gonna make you double take.
The one-liners in this book good like even like the next page over it's like men do not keep the exploits of the bedroom to themselves. Like really you kind of understand Alessandra as a character and like she's not going to take shit from other people. She's not going to put herself into some kind of box of what a woman should be. She's going to live her life how she wants to. And yes, maybe killing a person isn't the best option or the best thing to do. One, it's fictional, but two, she's a Slytherin. This is a classic Slytherin person where they want people to fear them. They want people to like because Alessandra does kind of want people to like she wants that what is that called? I'm trying to think of why she agreed to like she
She's
wanted the
very,
notoriety.
yeah, she's very ambitious.
Ambition, that's what I was looking for.
There you
She's
go. Slytherin, you should know that.
yeah.
You're a Slytherin, you should know this.
Well, because I'm like trying to think of what was happening. So, kind of in the beginning of the book, like the first 3 chapters, we see Alessandra, like how she treats her dad too is a little off-putting, but also I would understand like if like living in that time when dads tried to control their daughters and she's like not having it. But we see that she goes to this not coming of age, but introduction ball where the king meets eligible bachelorettes, I guess you could call them, to pick a wife. And Alessandra goes, and contrary to the norm of the people waiting in line, she decides to not even get in line, which I loved the fact that she was like, no, we're not going to follow the standards. We're not going to get in line, and we're not going to do what he wants. We're going to do what I want, and we're going to make him see that don't want to do I don't want to follow the norm. She
Yeah.
really puts herself out of the box
Mm.
in going to dance first and talking with other people and not even looking at him.
She has this like way of thinking of just like thinking 2 moves ahead. And she does it in such a way that most people, she knows how men will react right off the bat. She knows how men expect other women to act because of how they have treated her sister and have treated other women around her. And she knows that she was meant for more. And she decides like, I'm not going to go crawl to him. I don't need to do that because every other girl does that. And it's very different from the like, I'm different than other girls type of trope, where it's just like she is different from other girls, but she's different in a way of just like, I don't care. I
Yeah.
know that I need to marry somebody, but I want power. That's what I want. And
It's the
she's very different from like other protagonists in other books of like, these women who like become badasses and become killers and become fighters and all these things, where she already has that mentality as the book starts. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's that ambition. She's looking for ambition that's driving her. She alone herself, she's that person you have to do in order to get things done, you have to do it yourself person. So when she like she said a funny quote to her father, and it was when he was talking about going to like seduce the king, and she's like, "Have you ever seduced a man before?" Like she knows what she's doing. Like she's had multiple relationship with other men as we've seen, and she's blackmailed them into being silent. Like the amount of badassery in this book where she holds these men, like holds like she's like, I will protect myself, and by protecting myself I will get shit on these guys so that they cannot ruin my reputation. But she's
What
like, I'll have my fun.
what's his name, the guy that she sleeps with first?
Hector, her first love, Hector.
No.
um I don't remember the first guy she slept with.
He comes back though.
Oh, the lease guy. I know who you're talking about. I'll have to find it in the book, but it's the one who becomes
Yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
tries to reveal that they've slept together to the king.
So so at the beginning of the book, before like the ball and everything, she's sleeping with this guy, and then like he wants to take it to the next level, and he's just like, here is this pretty necklace. Like, he gives her a piece of jewelry. I can't remember what it is. And basically ends up trying to propose to her, and she's like, look, this has been fun, but I think we need to end it here.
Myron.
Myron, thank you. And
Yeah.
so then she like has this like, he gets mad, and that little dick
The
energy.
jealousy of like, you're already mine. The idea that him sleeping with her means that she's his.
Yeah.
That like,
He's just like, but I took your maidenhood. And then she's just like,
no.
you did it. And I love how she like knocks men down a couple pegs to check them, because it's just like, no, that's not how you talk to me. And she does this so many times throughout the book that it's just like, it's not like a one-off where she's like all of a sudden she's confident and then she starts doing it,
She's
or she
confident from the
does it
beginning.
once. Yeah, she's confident from the beginning, and she does it consistently to the point where she is quick off the bat, quick. And she basically like tells him like, I know that you spent your father's fortune, so you won't tell anybody unless you want to like gain his wrath. And then he ends up walking away, and
Come
through
back
the
later.
wall, yeah, he comes back later in the book. And
But
then through the wall, she still has that mentality of like, I'm more than you. You are not more than me.
yeah, she definitely thinks she's above the men. And she is. Honestly, she's smarter than these men. And especially when it comes to getting the attention of the king. Because the king, of course, is going to sit there and be like, oh, all of these ladies are going to come to me. I'm not going to give a shit about them. I'm just going to let them come. I'm not even going to look at them. I don't care. Then there's a woman he doesn't know, walks in, doesn't even look at him. That, I think, is the smartest move where she's like, do not make eye contact. like don't look at him because then that gives him the power. If you look at him, that gives him the power. She is all about this power dynamic with her where she wants to marry the king so she can kill him and become queen to gain all of that power.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little annoying because she always kept talking about that, where she was like, I'm gonna kill him and get all of his power. I kind of was annoyed at that. I was like, okay, I know, sweetheart. I'm reading your story. But I also understand why, because she is this power hungry person.
Yeah, like she's the definitely like gotta keep my eye on the ball, gotta keep my eye on the ball.
Mhm.
Refocusing.
I think
She's
it
like,
also is having to do with that refocusing of like trying to like make sure she stays on track because she does sway. And so we kind of see her at the ball, and the king finally comes up to her and is like, asks her to dance, and they don't even touch.
they don't even touch. Okay, so like, quick pause on this. The way that this book, like, okay, people talk about, I haven't read Six of Crows yet, but people talk about like Kaz and Inej's chemistry and whatever, and how like a little touch that they ever do, I think it's like a brush of the back of the hands or something, I don't remember what it was, but they said that it was so intense because it was so built up. And this is the type of book, because like the Shadow King, that's what he's called at first before you find out his name. The Shadow King doesn't want anyone to touch him. You must remain 6 feet apart. This is like COVID era type of with him. You cannot come near him. He does not let anybody touch
You
him.
will die if you do.
Yes, it's like treason if you do. So the fact that he came up to her and he tells her to dance, and she knew right then, as soon as he came up to her, she knew, I got it. I got it. And they start dancing, and it's like they're standing apart, and she's following his lead without even touching him, without even feeling him. And he does like this thing to test her, like steps in a different direction, and she follows the movement. And he kind of like smirks a little bit, and he like she passed some kind of test. And then after the dance, bows and then walks away. And then she's just like, what? Like she has this mentality of just like, I had it. I had it right there. And then he just walks away. And the tension that they built up during that dance was immaculate. And it wasn't even close to what we get throughout the rest of the book.
Yeah, no, especially when she's like left there and she's just like, I fucked it up. She was like, fuck, I like messed up. But then we see like as they're leaving, like he ends the ball right there. And so as they're leaving, he has somebody ask her to stay in court. And I was like, oh, oh. And her dad was like gonna come with her. And she's like, no, 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 no. You're gonna stay at home. I'm gonna go seduce the king and I'm gonna go kill the king. And you're just like, oh, you really see that this is definitely, she is a very independent woman. This is
Mm-hmm.
like we always hear like books talking about women are being independent and stuff. She is the epitome of independence and ambition and power hungry. She's a
Mm-hmm.
power hungry person.
Yeah.
And
She's not a good person.
she's not a good person.
You don't expect her to be a good person. Like you're going into this book knowing that she's a really bad person. She may not be evil, but she's not a good person. She's truly a morally great book character. And this is a truly morally great book. Like it's right there. Like you think, okay, morally great character here, morally great character there. This book has two main characters that are truly morally great. And it's like perfectly done because you don't ever expect them to do things nice at all. And it's just like, wow, amazing.
Yeah, no, I like we see this as like we see her now living in the court. She's living with a court. She's like the newest member to come to court too. So other people have been there and she's the newest person and we see her starting to develop relationships with other members of the court. We have the two. I love the fact that when they have tea the next day, she goes out and everybody, the council comes up to her and they're like, "Oh, you don't have anybody here." She literally walks up to these two random girls, sits down and talks with them with the utmost confidence that anybody could have. And it's just like you feel like a bad bitch reading it. You're like, yes, like, and like the amount of the like instant friendship that they have too, because they're just like, oh, this new girl, we'll just accept her in. Like, there's not that, like, we don't see that tension there, and I'm glad we don't see that tension there because she definitely needs somebody to fall back on when anything happens. The names of the girl were Ra Rhoda, 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 and I'm trying to find her other name.
Yeah. I don't have my book on me.
Hesta,
Yeah.
Hestia,
Hestia.
Hestia, and Rhoda.
And one of them is a widow, and the other one is new at court. So they bond basically over how she snared the king, like
Yeah,
got his attention, and they did it in such a way that was like more of like, wow, like kudos to you, because they were not looking towards the king; they were looking elsewhere, and I think that that was really key in her finding a place. And I gotta say, like, the fact that like her fashion sense is so good. Like, yeah, we get like, Selena in Throne of Glass who likes the finer things and likes dresses and things like that, and other books where it has that. But like this girl will sew her own dress from
dedicated.
anything. She'll buy patterns, she'll out of the
She'll draw it herself. That's I think that's part of the ambition is she wants to look the part. So she has that drive to, and it's part of her passion too, is she wants to look beautiful. She wants to create new designs. She wants to be able to show off her body.
yeah. And she remind me if I'm wrong, because it has been a while since I've read this book. She does her dresses with like pants down the
Yeah.
front
Hmm.
and like a full skirt in the back. So if you think of it like
It's like a high low with pants underneath, but the
yeah,
high is very high in the front, and it's a
um if you think about Cinderella, the live action with Lady Tremaine's dress, like Lady Tremaine's dress in the front is a very like fitted bodycon dress all the way down to her feet, and then like a full skirt over that in the back. Um, but Alessandra's dresses are pants in the front, and you don't really see that in this type of fashion era because everybody's like full petticoats and big gowns with the hoop skirts underneath. And Alessandra does not do that. She sets herself apart, not only with how she carries herself, but also with her fashion sense and how she makes her dresses.
reminder. At the first ball she wore all black while everybody else wore green, and then the next day everybody else wore green and she wore, I think, lavender purple.
Yeah, like literally every time she goes to like, I guess their version of promenade where like they walk around or out in the gardens or whatever. Um, the day after, everyone copies an element of what she wore, whether it's the color, whether it's the style, whatever it is, and she has to consistently be upkeeping and staying on trend because she is a trendsetter, and I love that for her. But yeah, then also this is where we meet the boys. This is where we meet the cousin
Yes.
and his two friends.
Yeah, so we meet the cousin. His name is, I always had a hard time pronouncing this, but I love that she's immediately attracted to him, but she's like, no, I am not gonna let anything happen between us because I have my eyes set on the king. But she admits that she's attracted to him because it's definitely like a physical thing. And she's like, oh, he's very attractive.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind having a dalliance with him, but in the long run, it's not going to happen, which
Yeah.
I liked. It's Lindros.
Leandros.
Leandros. Leandros. Leandros. That's what I thought it was, and then I was like Leandros. Leandros. Um, but yes, Leandros is the cousin of the um
Yeah.
Shadow King.
Mhm. And the way that this kind of a little bit into the story about the Shadow King is that his family was murdered on one night due to like the a siege on the castle due to some traitor. And since then, he has distanced himself from literally every person in his family, from his court. He started that whole distance thing where nobody could come close to him because of the power that he holds. He doesn't want anyone close to him. We'll get to why later on. And so Leandros and him used to be friends when they were growing up, and then that thing happened and he pushed everybody away. And so Leandros is telling Alessandra all of this about like how they used to be. And so she takes it upon herself to think, I can use this. I can use this information. I can use this relationship and use him to gain access to other things. And then we also meet his two friends, which is,
Well, we don't meet them at the tea party. We meet them at a later.
oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm skipping ahead.
We don't
Um,
meet them yet. But at this tea party, we see that she starts this friendship with Leandros and um
Rhonda and
Rhonda Rhoda. It's there's no
Rhoda. Why did I say Rhonda?
because it's
God.
like Rhonda. It's basically spelled Rhonda without the N, but Rhoda and Hestia. Um, what do you think of the names in this book? I really liked.
They're very different. I don't know if there's any, because they're not like super high fantasy where they're like these old you know, made up names. These names seem to have like a Latin and Greek root. Does that make sense? Oh, that doesn't make sense, but it sounds
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
like that's just the feel of it. I could be completely wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
English
Um,
is my best subject, but you know.
yeah, but we also see her going to start hanging out with people with the ladies of the court. We see them going into the queen's not summoning room, but like the place where the queen would hang out with all of her ladies in waiting. Um Callias had it open. It's Callias, right? Yeah, Callias
Yes.
had it open for the ladies of the court to use because they're all still stuck at court because he has sanctioned them to stay there and nobody can leave.
And everyone who's at court is people who were there the night that his family was murdered. So
Yeah.
they're basically on lockdown and cannot leave.
Hmm. So for a while now, we see her days um of kind of going to parties because um
Has
the
she talked with him yet?
I she talks with him at the tea party. Um after right before she meets every all the ladies and stuff, she has a quick conversation with him, but I didn't think there was much to it. Um it was more of a like cuz that's when his dog ran to her and he like threw.
That dog is like such a busybody.
Yes. But
Like
I
a
did think it was cute that he threw his ball at her so that his dog would jump
get
on her and she didn't react like how he wanted to gauge her reaction from it. And I thought that was very interesting because he's like, I don't want a woman who is gonna scream and run away from a dog. Yeah. Um
that scene was cute.
it was cute.
And I think it was very vital to see like the first glimpse into how he thinks because like we know Alessandra is very like conniving and like a quick thinker and she's always like trying to advance forward. And Callias is more of like testing the waters with people and seeing how things go and testing people to see what they will do. He's very much like a people watcher in that sense. And the fact that he did that to gate her reaction and the fact that she knew right away that that's what he did. kind of opens the door a little bit to
Mhm.
how they interact. And I thought it was a cute meeting or first conversation.
Yeah, we see them after, like, as the days pass on, we see them starting to have dinner and lunch together. And then this is, I think, their first dinner is where he introduces the idea of them becoming like faking a relationship, which that's my favorite trope, is the fake relationship trope, because it's perfect for any setting. You could have a fantasy one, which is like a fake marriage, like engagement, like The Duke and I. That TV series is a fake.
This time period, it feels very much like Victorian Regency era because of that courting type of mannerism and the dresses and things like that. Um, but yeah, like he brings up the idea of like, can you pretend to court, pretend that I'm courting you because I'm trying to figure out who killed my parents. And
Yeah,
he basically lays it on her with all of this, but then, and because she clearly wants, he asks her, right? He asks her what she wants most, and
hmm,
she says something where it's like I want exposure or something like that.
yeah. She was like, I want the notoriety
Yes.
of
And
being
then
known, because she'd be asked once they, and because they announced their engagement the next day at breakfast. And he starts having her like sit next to him at breakfast, and nobody else does, which, oof. Um,
literally there are two seats between him and anyone else. And then
because
he
the 5 foot distance, and he has her sit right next to him,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh, but it's not like an it's it's so they get in this relationship because, one, she wants the notoriety and it would allow her to network. It's a very like marketing technique of networking and going to lavish parties and stuff, because if it doesn't turn out, she can find somebody, she'll have the notoriety. While it may have been short-lived, but she does plan to seduce him where he thinks that it's not going to last, which I think was very funny because he's doing short term and she's like, no.
Like, honey, no, this is long term.
She already had him snagged the moment she didn't walk up to the dais and talk to him. She had
Mhm.
that moment when she didn't look at him at the first ball.
And
She snagged him.
he says that too.
Mhm.
He mentions that like that she was the only one who didn't chase after him and didn't want him, and he knew that she was different. And then he's like, I'll give you a notoriety, I'll give you that access to other people so you can find another suitor when this is done, but I need you to pretend to be my fiance so that the court, not the court, but the advisors back off of me for the meantime. And so they pretend to have this relationship, and it's more of like you said, just lunches
He
and
sends her gifts now once they get engaged. Once they are betrothed, engaged, or whatever, he starts sending her gifts, and she accepts them, and it's like in public too. So he sends her gifts when she's in the queen's sitting room. That's what it's called, the sitting room. That's when he starts giving her gifts so that everybody can see that he's doting on her. But then the problem arises is, yes, he gives her all these gifts, but he never goes anywhere with her. So she goes to all these parties and everybody is expecting her to take the
him.
king, but she's taking Myron instead, because Myron is now blackmailing her because his father died, so his brother's taking over, and he won't get in as much trouble as he would have if his father had known he lost family.
Yeah.
So we see
So
that.
meanwhile, she's like trying to put up this facade. She's a back burner. She's also thinking about a way to get back over Myron because she does not like being pressured.
Yeah,
And because she has to drag him along, he embarrasses her often. Like and they have that thing of like you can't have like three dances in a row.
he tries to do 3 dances in a row.
And I
He
thought
tries to sabotage her relationship with the king very subtly, but she catches it. And we also have the boys have been introduced to her. I know one of them is Orin. I forgot the other one's name. I have to find it again. Was Oren and I'll figure it out. But Oren, they were childhood friends of
Class.
Callias. Callias. I keep thinking Callias, but that's not it.
And let me just speak up real quick on the rep in this book. It's done so subtly and so smoothly that it's like not all up in your face. And let me explain a little bit more about that, because it's just like certain books, when they have POC rep or LGBTQ rep, it's very like they're gay, they're black, they're this, they're that. And it's not done in like a kind of like they're just living. And it's very different from like tokenism. Like tokenism is very like upfront in your face kind of rep, whereas the way that this book does rep is just very subtly, like it describes them and then it moves on and gives the character something else that you remember them by, not only their color or their sexuality, but more than that. Because Rhoda, she's really dark skinned, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Rhoda's Darkson, and then Petros, 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 he is gay because she mentions how he is always dancing with male, which I loved that being gay in this world isn't a bad thing. Like they
Yeah.
actively like they don't actively like they don't really actively promote it, but it's like it's not even like an issue that they have to actively promote it. It's just
A
a
thing.
thing,
Yeah, it's
which
very like in the way that the world just works. It's just there. It's there and that's it. And I'd rather books do that than to throw it in my face like tokenism. It's more of like a
I definitely like that it's not the whole story. Like they don't have to make it all of like that's why when there are some books written by white authors where they focus so much on either them being gay or them being B BIPOC like and I'm just like, dude, that makes it so much worse. Like you're not it's not adding value to the character anymore. You're just pushing it onto the character to meet a quota.
Mhm.
And she does it beautifully where you read it and you're like, "Oh, okay, this is how they look." And you continue on with the character. Like
Mhm.
it's not like that's the only reason they're in the book kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. And I just got to say that that's like the best thing. That's something that I really appreciated from this book. Um and they were characters that came up often, you know. They
They
were
were the
characters,
main characters.
yeah,
Well,
that they had moments where they were giving into the plot. They helped move the plot forward, yes, like any other main character does, but they weren't moving the plot forward because of their sacrifice, of their death, or because they did something outlandish. They did it as genuine characters and friends of Alessandra, which is so much better.
yeah. Um and like I love that so it happens pretty fast. Like at page 116 is when she finally solves her Myron problem. Like 116, like she is this smart where she figured out easily. Oren, one of the friends, is betrothed, and so we'll kind of recap on how she gets out of this Myron situation. So Oren, she agrees to find a way to end Oren's relationship, if he will give her 5,000 of their currency. And of course he agrees because he doesn't like his betrothed. He finds her very clingy, very not what he would want. And so we see her borrow the money from Oren, and then she
Oh, really quickly, um, to help out with this explanation, because Callias doesn't go with her many places because he doesn't, he only gives her gifts. People start questioning like whether she's being really courted by him. And one lord there, I can't remember his name, is very taken with her and always like trying to flirt with her, always trying to like like swoo her, what, no, woo her.
Elidas.
Ellie,
Ili, Il, Ilidas?
Ellie. Eliad.
There's an
Spell it his name.
Elidas.
Elidus.
Elidus. We'll just call him Elidus. Lord Elidus. Elidus? Elidus sounds better. Elidus. He
Elidus.
Elidus. I think it's Elidus. He's been trying to court her, trying to get. He actually like got with her father, and they were trying to get him betrothed.
Her father even came up and it's just like, oh, I secured you a proposal already. And she's just like, what are you doing here? Like, no, I'm being courted by the king. And then her dad is just like, it's been weeks. I hear that he doesn't go with you anywhere. He's just giving you gifts. He's not really courting you. This is embarrassing for us. Let's just go back home. I already secured your proposal. And she's like, no, that is not what's going on. And then she even confronts Callias about this. He's just like, look what you're doing. You're not actively courting me. You're not whispering sweet nothings into my
The
ear.
council doesn't even believe it. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody is actually believing it, even though he thinks he's doing enough. He's
Yeah.
not really. He is literally just eating with her in private and has her, and then has sit next to him, but nobody sees their relationship. Like she like told story. Okay, we're getting off track, but she told stories, and then he got mad at her. Remember, because people
Yeah.
she
Yeah. Yes. I
they
remember
said
that.
he kissed her hand, and she told people that it was gloved, but other people were saying that he kissed her hand when she was ungloved, and so
Yeah. But the way that he burst into the room after that. So like she's sitting down and they're asking her these things. She's like, "Oh yeah, he kisses my hand." And remember, he cannot touch anybody. It's like treason. But, she's his fiance, so they would probably assume, right? So then that night he bursts into her room and he's just like, "Did you tell them that I kissed your hand?" And then she explains and then she gets mad at him and then blows up and says like, "You're not doing anything. I'm trying to sell this act and you're not doing a good job helping him." Like she catches herself in a moment after like fumbling over the explanation. She's just like, hold up, who are you yelling at?" And then she kind of goes at him and
checks
then
him.
yeah,
She
she really
checks
does.
him. She's like, "No, you cannot be mad at me for having to exaggerate things that happen because you are doing the bare minimum of
Not
what."
even.
No, he's not even doing the bare minimum. He's not even meeting the threshold of what courting could be, and he's causing all those problems. So, leading back to what I was saying, how she gets out of her Myron situation is we have Myron who's blackmailing her into bringing him to all of these events that she goes to, because now that she's being courted by the king, people want her to come to their events for that notoriety that she's been looking for.
Mhm.
And so she borrows from Oren 5,000 of their currency, and using that 5,000, she buys up all of Myron's debt. So all of his debt now belongs to her. She has the power to put him in jail for not paying his debts and to collect on those debts. And so she tells him, "You need to leave. Do not tell anybody we have been anything more. You are not going to talk to me ever again. We weren't even friends. Like, I don't know you anymore." And she uses this debt that I you owe me now.
Mhm.
I own you.
Mhm.
And he leaves. And so
And then how to pay back Orant is to get him away from his fiance.
mhm,
And her problem with elitists,
Lord Elitas.
elitist, um, is to make it look like Lord Elitist has a thing for Orant's fiance. I can't remember her name. And so Petros forges a letter with Lord Elitist's signature. And I love how she's using both of the boys in this plan.
Mhm.
And forges a love letter, sends it to her to meet in her room. And then Orant, he's just like, "Oh, the plan worked." Like she says she's turning in early. And she goes and
He goes with his father to check up on his fiance
fiance,
who is supposedly sick, and Lord
elitist,
Elitas is
kind
in the room with flowers
yeah.
because
Got in there because like
Alessandra
Alessandra,
asked him to come with her.
to help give her flowers because, or help carrying flowers for her to apologize to the fiance, for Alessandra to apologize for her. And then he goes in and she's like, oh wait, I forgot something. Goes around the corner. Here comes Orant and his dad.
And his dad sees, and his dad is outraged that there's another man in her room and doesn't even stop to ask. He just breaks the engagement there and they leave. And so that's how she repays Oren back, is he hated being in this relationship so much that he actually like, and then I think Oren gets with, no.
No.
No, he doesn't. No, I don't know why I thought that.
He doesn't want to be with anybody right now.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be. And so we see that this is how she finally um
Like she gets rid of a lot of loose ends.
yeah, and
And she,
so
like a
the
lot of minor scheming amongst the bigger
yeah,
space.
so the next loose end that she has to have is when the first line was she killed her first love Hector, and she buried him out in the woods. But now Hector's father, 3 years later, is looking for his son, and they come asking her father because there had been whispers about her and Hector being together, and her sister admits to the like police force for them, the detective, that Alessandra and Hector had relations and they knew each other, and probably that Alessandra was the last, like, I hate her sister,
Her
that
sister
Alice,
is
like, her sister's just dumb, like, ugh. But and so they come knocking. They've like sent, her father and her sister have sent her letters about them coming to ask about Hector, and she's like freaking out. She's like, fuck, like, what do I do? And so we see the scene where they come to the palace to talk to her, and she is like fumbling, like she's like fuck, fuck, fuck. They're in the library, her, the king, Hector's dad, and the detective and other people are in there, and she lies her ass off. She tries lying her ass off, saying, no, I didn't kill him, I have no idea who, we didn't know, like, I knew him, yes, but no, I didn't do anything. And so Callias, just getting angry, has him sent away, for even daring to think that she would do it. And then he turns around and just laughs at her in the face because he knew she killed him, and he was enjoying watching her lie. And he just starts laughing at her, and she's
she's freaking out. She's just like, oh, he's gonna be mad at me. He's gonna think I'm a terrible monster, which she is, and she knows she is. But then it's gonna ruin everything, and she's freaking out. And he just starts laughing, and she's just like, "What's wrong with you?" And he's just like, "You did do it, didn't you?" And she's just like, what? And then like he literally is just like, I can't believe you did it. So that's what happened. That's what it's been. And he doesn't judge her. He doesn't get mad at her. He doesn't nothing. He just understands. And it's just like, okay. And then moves on. And it's just like, I need a man like that who
they're Slytherins. It's the ultimate. They are bad people.
Mhm.
This is not like a hero's journey. Like, they even talk about, like, they have the Red Riding Hood, the Robin Hood under theme of like the character stealing from the rich and giving back to the poor, and that's like a very, it's a minor subplot that I don't even remember if, I think it was Lord Elidas who was actually the Robin Hood guy, and she found out by him, when they went into the room to forge the thing.
Signature.
Yeah, and they put him in jail when they found him in Oren's fiance's room. They put him in jail and stuff.
The king is like dealing with this like bandit who's stealing the money,
Yeah.
and he talks with her like during his dinners. He talks with her
Yeah.
about this.
And she
quick
tells him
side
what to
note,
do.
quick side note, when they have these little dinners, it's like one-on-one, and it's very intimate, and they talk and they become friends throughout this. Like, I mean, he even um one cute thing that they do, like, this is completely off topic of like the Robin Hood thing, but I'm gonna get back to that. It's just like that they eat the first time that they have dinner together in the library. They have the dinner, and then he brings it to them and sends the servants away, and he sits back to watch her, and she, no hesitation, goes straight for the chocolate cake first.
Dessert first always for them.
Always. And he laughs at this and he's just like, I'm glad to like find someone like me. And they always start dinner with dessert first. And it's become like a thing. And you see their friendship building. And that's really what it is. It's like a friendship and understanding between them. And like during these talks, like he unloads like some things of politics that are bothering him, things about the advisors that are bothering him, the politics that are bothering him. And through that, she finds out about this problem with Robin Hood, the Robin, the bandit. And then through her bargain with Orynth, she finds out that it's him, and then schemes the for Lord Elidas to be taken away. And then Callias appreciates that she's not only a sit back kind of girl. Like she will get in there, get her hands
Yeah.
dirty, make bargains, make it happen.
And this whole time she's still thinking about killing him, and she's doing this because she's preparing to become queen. She's preparing herself. This is her whole thing. Is Callias thinks she's like helping him because like they're friends and stuff, but she's like yeah, we're friends, but I need to start practicing for when I'm queen. I need to start learning what to do. I need to. She tries to even sit in on meetings and stuff. And the council's like, hell no. But she's just like, I will do it. And finally, Callias does let her sit in on meetings. But we we see this where they start to become friends actually, and we see where they he takes
Like
her.
he even listens to her and listens to her advice. And during that council meeting, he even asked her, like, what do you think we should do? And then did what she planned out to do. I forgot what it was that they were talking about, but he listened to her, and that shows like their partnership. And it even showed the advisors that they work together and they work together well. They can't
Yeah.
gang up on him anymore.
um and like we see that like they go on an adventure together to find out who killed his parents, and they go to like the tavern and stuff. That scene was so good where she faked being a prostitute and he like faked hiring her, and they were like cuddling in the corner, not really touching because they
Yeah.
had gloves on.
So they can't touch because the Shadow King, true to his name, he has like these Azrael kind of powers of like shadows coming around him, or him never feeling like he's actually there. He's
His
made.
shadows make him like transparent, like he can move through things. He's
Yeah.
able to walk through walls and stuff because of his shadow power.
And he cannot touch anybody because the moment that he touches someone skin to skin, he will forever be solid in the
Presence of them.
presence of them. So that's why he does not touch anybody, and he won't touch her, because every time she's around, he will be solid, and that gives him access to threats. And so when they go to like figure out who, they go undercover, basically he has this wig on and she's like dressed up like this, finds her way into the whorehouse basically, through the back way, through the dishes. The madam like is just like, okay, go on the floor and start pouring around these drinks. And then like this guy tries to like come at her, and then he just like pulls her, because like she was looking for him, and he pulls her down into his lap. And then he's just like, oh, she's spoken for the night. And I gotta say, that made me, oh, I was like, yes, come on. There are very like this book is, a lot of things are happening, okay? So many subplots are going on, but the fact that he has this willingness to do these things, and throughout the entire night he's like always massaging her and touching her to make it look like they're putting on a show, and she's feeling all these things, and she's just like, dang, and he's gloved hands and everything, and he's making sure not to touch her. And this girl comes by, another barmaid comes by and spills drink almost on them, and he like pushes her out of the way, and they think for a moment that they touched, and they freak out really quickly because people are still trying to kill him. And then she's like, oh my gosh, check quick, can you try to move? And then he does. He's like, oh, it's okay, I didn't touch you, and he's fine. But right then they knew that something was up.
And so they left. They escaped into the night. And we see this like they they have a ball. He gives her he gives her the power to he's starting to fall for her, so he gives her that power to oh, sorry, my stomach just rumbled. He gives her the power. I don't know if you heard that or not, but I could hear it loudly. I've worked till 3 a.m., so like staying up late is I'm gonna eat gummy worms or gummy bears or whatever gummies we have at work. But we see him start to give her that little power and she loves it. So they have a ball, and she's the one to plan everything. And she does it in as and like the theme of the ball is the Queen's Garden. And so everybody dresses up as like um
Flowers.
flowers and stuff, and she has this beautiful like yellow flower and she's like working on it every single day. She like does it all herself, which I can admire. She does her outfits herself and she knows how to style herself too, which she like even tells Hestia, like, because Hestia is copying her a lot throughout this, and she tells Hestia like, you need to stop trying to be me. And I will pull up the quote right now because it was under the quote that I put for my Instagram post, but it's, you don't want to catch a man who wants me. You want to catch a man who wants you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important because we all seem to find this idea in our world as well, as like, you always want the man who wants the other girl and you're always wondering like, why can't he choose me? But then it's like, you don't want somebody who wants somebody else. You want somebody who wants you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to catch their attention. You want somebody who wants you for being you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a very women empowering book as well for YA readers to be like, hey, like, we don't have to be in this box for men. Like, men should be bowing to us, is basically what Alessandra would say.
Mm-hmm. And that anybody can be manipulated, even like women. And it's about keeping your head above water and like being sure of yourself and knowing what you want and going after it. And they do that so great. Like Callias admires that about Alessandra. And that's where he really starts falling back in love with her, is like that he sees the same ambition in himself in her and the same willingness to be a good ruler, a good in the sense of not being a good person, but a good ruler as in where their kingdom would thrive. um and he admires that so much, and that's what really draws him to her, is all of these things that we admire in Alessandra as readers. He sees that and he falls in love with her that way, and little by little you see her falling in love with him too. And that's why she has to keep keeping herself on track,
Yeah.
like, I'm here to kill him, I'm here to kill him,
Yeah.
but
And
I'm here to kill him, but
we even see her take the step of putting poison in her closet so that she's ready, because he's now, after they had the attack in the gardens, they had an attack in the gardens, and she stepped in front of him and was like, no, she had this idea like, no, I'm the only one who gets to kill him, but she's really protecting him after he got shot with a gun, which I was thinking is interesting that they had guns, like they had
yeah,
actual working guns at this time. And I was like, this is a very like modern fantasy, but also
yeah,
Victorian
that's why
era.
I feel like it's more of like a Regency era.
Yeah, Regency or Victorian.
Victorian would be more steampunk if it
That's
had
true.
guns. Regency
That's
had
true. Yeah,
kids
that's true. So it
brilliant.
is, yeah, Regency, I guess. But so he moves her into the Queen's suites, which are
Right
direct
next to him.
connected. There's a
She,
connection.
yeah,
He
and
has
like, let's go back to the garden scene real quick. They're walking in the gardens, and then the gun goes off and shoots him, and she goes over him to protect him because he was solid in the moment that they were walking. And then like she protects him with her body, and like the guards come and everybody, and I don't remember if they apprehend the guy who shot her.
yeah, they Yeah, because she remembers she stabs him.
Oh, that's right.
She
She
stabs.
stabbed him.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't just cover his body. She gets up and bites back. Gosh, why did
She
I
has
forget?
a dagger with her all the time. She has her dagger with her. The same one that she killed Hector with, she always has somewhere on her body. And so she used that to protect him. And out of respect for her and thanking her, he puts her in the queen suite. And we see this development where they're starting to grow like closer. And like after that, she's like trying to go to bed and stuff, and she can't. And she goes to him and she's like, I can't sleep. And then he goes and like talks to her and stuff. And I think that was like a crucial thing. And then we see the library scene where he gets he the library scene where he gets drunk.
Drunk Elias, man. It's like, it reminds me a little bit of Drunk Carden.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how you could explain it, is drunk Carden. Callias is kind of like a Carden, honestly,
Yeah,
without the drinking.
without the drink.
Carden without drinking. Moody, arrogant, because he's still arrogant, but a softie for the one girl.
For that one girl. But he became a softie for her after a little bit of time.
Yeah, after a bit of time. But we also
They have fun together.
they do. They have
They
fun
sneak
together.
together, they sneak around. Like, he does this one thing where, like, she needed the letters from someone's desk, I think, or
He
something.
likes her scheming. He likes to scheme with her. Where
And
when they go to get the seal for Lord
Aaliyah,
Elitas,
Alita,
Elitas, he like shadows her because he can shadow with her, like bring her into the room, and that's when she gets all the stuff, and he like helps her with her schemes. Like these
yeah.
are not good people. They were like sneaking into other people's rooms, killing people. Like he kills somebody in front of her, and like
He thinks that she'll turn away, and then she's
yeah.
just like,
I think that's why he laughed when he realized that like she had killed somebody. He laughed his ass off because he was like all he was so worried about him like killing people around her when she's a murderess.
yeah, he's just like, you've killed people. That's
Yeah,
so funny.
yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
why was I even worrying about this? But
And it's like that video with Paul Rudd at the Hot Wings interview, and he's just like, look at us. Who'd think we would be here? Look at us. Just look at us. And I'm like, yeah, that was basically that moment.
yeah,
Him laughing at her.
yeah. And we see all these moments where they like actually get engaged as well. So like kind of towards the end, they actually are like starting to want to be together, and they actually admit their feelings for each other.
And I gotta say, like, those scenes in books are always my absolute favorite. Like, like when the guy pours his heart out. It's such a raw, like, good writers that do it are like so great at those scenes because, like, it's so raw and open, and you just see the guy lay himself bare, and is just like, this is me, and I love you, and I want you forever, and I've wanted you since this moment. I've admired you, I've seen you, and you've seen me. And it's just like a beautiful, like, we know what the monologue sounds like, but you start seeing how little things that they did along the book add up. And the girl is always taken aback because she doesn't know how to deal with it, or she doesn't want to. But I love that trope of him, of the guy releasing his feelings and her trying to deny it, but him not letting her. And I loved that they did this.
Yeah.
So good.
After they admit their feelings, of course, is when attempt an assassination attempt happens where they are at dinner or no at the ball that she has they're toasting and he
Drinks.
gets poison.
Wait. Are we skipping the fact that
They did the deed.
yeah.
Uh, they did the deed. It's not the whole thing in the book. It's not even it wasn't even like a it
It's
was
not
they
spicy, but it's important
yeah,
because you touch.
they touched. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
mean, you gotta touch with that.
yeah, they finally touched when they admitted their feelings and stuff. They finally touched and did the deed. And so after doing the deed now, whenever she's near,
He's solid. He cannot phase, he cannot nothing. And
was the assassination attempt after or before that scene?
I think it was after, because
Yeah, I think it was after, so we kind of skipped
the end.
ahead.
We're
But basically,
no, the fade to black scene was before the ball.
oh, okay, it was.
Yeah, because at the ball,
They dance.
making they do a
They
dance, and they have
they
eh,
start walking around together.
we're skipping a very vital part. It's been a while since I've read this book, so I'm sorry for those of you guys listening. It's been a while. I'm forgetting a couple things slipping through the cracks. Leandros throughout the entire book has been flirting with Alessandra, has even kissed her a couple times, and she has admitted to him that she has wanted him, and how he said, like, break off your engagement, just marry me. I mean, I'm not a king, but I can still give you more than what he's giving you right now. And he tries to play on the fact that Callias wasn't really courting her at the time, but then when she starts protecting Callias more, he kind of backs off a little bit, and you don't really see him around too much. But it's always kind of like you know what's going on here. So what are you doing? And so at the ball, they're making the toast, and go ahead, Maggie, from there.
So at the ball, they're making the toast, and she sees one of the girls from the gentleman's like the prostitute house, and she notices her because then she realizes that's the girl who bumped into Callias and touched him.
But
And
she didn't. They didn't think that she touched him.
yeah, they didn't realize that they thought he didn't actually get touched, but then now she's realizing that he did, and he takes a sip of his drink, and she's like, "No," but he's already taking it, and he's already going down, and you see everything that happens. Like, you see all the guards, like, as the king falls down and stuff, you see all the guards, like, block everybody off because everybody's going to, like, help the king, like, to touch him, and she's like, no, 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 nobody touch him, like, nobody can touch him. And you see the moment when all the guards listen to her, like, even the guards are like, she's not the queen yet, but they listen to her, and they're letting nobody, not even the council, come in to touch him. And in doing so, she realizes, like, his friends are there, Oren and Petros are there, they're not touching him, but they're there in the circle of the guards because she let them in. And that's when they listen to her, and she still sees the girls, and she's realizing that the girl is making him vulnerable, so she chases the girl away. Like, she actually runs away from the girl, and to get herself away, so that, because if she puts distance, if he can get his shadows, it can heal him. And
Hold on, I
so,
really think we're out of order here.
are we?
Did they do it before or
I
after?
don't think they did it. I think they did it after. I think you were. That's why I was like, I'm pretty sure they did it after. Because that's when I think they admitted their feelings.
No, they had already touched, because she chases the girl out too, and then even
She's trying to
Leandra,
get away from him.
yeah. So then she chases the
Okay,
girl
so I
away.
was right. I was saying she was getting herself away from him while
Yeah,
also
you're
getting
right.
the
You're
girl
right.
away.
You're right.
And
Yeah.
so it's like a certain distance, and she tackles the girl to the ground, like she's holding on to her, like, who sent you? And the girl is like crying, like, all of this. And so as she's like taking the girl away, he's healing and stuff. And we see
Leandra's.
Leandros come and watch the girl as, like, she goes back to the king to make sure he's all right and everything. And that happens.
And like he's sick and in bed or whatever. And
Oh,
like,
I thought he got healed.
yeah, but like he's in his room.
Yeah.
And she's like worried about him and like wondering, and like, you know, you know, and they're okay. And then they're trying to figure out what it was. It was poison. And then things start being uncovered. And if you remember, we kind of mentioned about the poison that she hid in her closet is suddenly uncovered, and Callias just gets is so
Angry.
heartbroken.
He's angry, but I think most of all he's heartbroken that the one person that he trusted out of everybody in the court was Alessandra.
Yeah,
And she had the poison. I think it also is the same poison that killed him.
it is.
Um and so he doesn't kill her. He
No.
banishes her from the castle.
And I gotta say, like, that was like perfect punishment, because it's just like he knows that she, or he thinks she doesn't care for him, but she really does. And he cannot bring himself to kill her, even though it is treason.
And he knows her enough that death doesn't scare her.
Mhm.
Death doesn't scare her. Having no notoriety, being in shame, being away from everything she's gotten, that is the worst pain for her. And he knows that, and he can't bring himself to kill her. And
Yeah.
so he ends up sending her away. And on her trip away, she is starting to think. Let me find out, because she's like okay, so he sends her away and he gives her till the end of the day to leave. And so she runs back to her room, and she runs into his room because I think he leaves, and she's trying to like find him so that she can talk to him, and she ends up like bawling on the floor of his room. And guess who walks in? Leandros. And he's like comforting her, and he like says like,
I'll go away with you.
yeah. And they like kiss and stuff on the floor, because she's like, he's my last resort kind of
Mhm.
thing, where they
And then he said something. He says something that tips her, like rubs her the wrong way.
yeah, let me find it. um
Like he's like, just go and then soon you'll be back, or
yeah,
something like that. Like, and she's just like, what does that mean? And it's very like, she doesn't want Leandros, she wants Callias. And even as he's kissing her and holding her, she knows it's not the same. And she double guesses her scheming to rise up her power for in that moment. Like it's not even worth it. And then he says that one thing. And then she gets up, I think, and she starts going to go pack her things.
yeah, I'm trying to find it.
She's in her room getting her stuff together though. And something clicks.
So she's not in her room, she's gone. And it's as she's like in the carriage leaving is when she starts to think about it. And she says,
Because he packed up her stuff. Callias.
yeah, he had everybody like pack up her stuff.
She's in the
So then,
carriage ride and she starts
so
thinking about
yeah,
it.
I'll read it. It's on page 311. It says, as I sit there, I remember Lady Zerva's insistent that okay, so they also think that Lord um Vasco, which is Leandros's dad, was in on it. And then Lady Zervas, which is the Calli- Callias
The old king's, the former
mistress.
king's mistress.
Yeah. And so they put them in jail, and the mistress was like, you have the wrong person. Like, I'm not a part of this. And Vasco is guilty. The Lord Vasco is guilty. But she says, as I sit there, I remember Lady Zervas is insistent that she was innocent, that she'll be free when the killer shows themselves. Vasco is guilty, of that I'm certain, but he could have roped his nephew into helping him. No, Leandros would never. Why would he? He was Callias's friend. He came to court after the death of Callias's brother. Why would Leandros have any motive to harm the king? But then I remember how he insisted that I would be back in the palace soon and by his side. Still, why would he want to harm Callias? I stare down at the spot on my hand. He came to court after the death of Callias's brother. When Callias and I went to the gentleman's club in disguise, I had noticed how Callias looked so much like Leandros with the lighter hair. What would Leandros have to gain from harming Callias unless devils? And like right before this, she noticed that she had hair dye on her hand from like when she kissed Leandros, like hair dye had stuck on her hand, and this is what caused her to start thinking about it. And
It
um
basically comes out,
yeah, that
realizes that Leandros
yeah.
is Callias's brother
Yeah,
who
she
died.
goes to him and she goes back to the castle. She finds Callias with Leandros in her old rooms, and she's like he was gonna kill him there, and she reveals everything then, and it was like I didn't expect it. I did not expect it.
Okay, so like this is like the last 20 pages of the book. It's happening so fast.
Yeah,
All of this is happening so fast to the point where I was reading the book, and because I like, you look towards the end of the book and you're like, oh, I got this much left. When I looked at how much I had left, I'm like, this has to have another book because there's no way that this is going to get wrapped up in this
yeah,
amount of time. And then everything just spills out so fast. And then Callias is just like angry at her, but then also angry at Leandros, and he's just like, no, it can't be. And then like Leandros like fesses up and he's
yeah.
just like, oh, I was hidden away because
His father
yeah,
wanted to kill him. That's why he
his
quote
mother
unquote
wanted to kill him because um he wasn't legitimate, I think.
I think it's because like the shadows chose the next heir, and it usually was that the next like the heir would be the first in line to get the shadows, but it wasn't. It was Callias that had the shadows, and so his dad killed. Like, um, oh, sorry, my I don't have my. Oh no,
Uh,
I
yeah,
don't
but
have.
he definitely his father was gonna kill him, and then he's just like, I hid away, and then our uncle ended up helping me, and then he does the villain talk of releasing all of his plans and things, and then attacks Callias, and because he was his brother, he ends up touching him too, and then because she's there, he's solid and can't use his powers, and she reveals how she left him there and that he was tending to him when he was down, when he was poisoned, left her with the maid when she went back to Callias, so he was able to get rid of all the evidence of the maid and all of these things, and they end up fighting it out, and it's kind of, I don't know how to describe the fight between them.
Yeah, he like he tries to attack her, but she uses her like she uses a sword, and basically like in their like altercation, she kills him. Second man she's ever killed is him.
Yeah, Callias sees, because she ends up jumping into the fight, and then she ends up being the one to kill him
Mhm.
because he was gonna kill Callias.
Yeah,
And doing that, she saved his life, yes, but then after that, she just leaves.
she leaves. She leaves and goes back to. She goes as she's leaving. She goes to Rhoda's estate because Rhoda's a widow, but Rhoda has land and stuff, and she goes to stay there. And um, her sister like sends her a letter while she's there, and it's like a and literally one of my favorite lines is like she's after she read her sister's letter, she goes, "I'm not a trollop. I am a sexually empowered woman, and there's nothing wrong with that." I think that's like also a thing is like she's very sexually empowering in this book, and it's very in a subtle way.
Mhm.
It's the fact that she has and it's a normalization of women having more than one partner, not at the same like kudos to you if you can do it at the same time, but like multiple like relationship. I know there's like a throuple, I'm in a throuple, um I'm not. I'm just my roommate is dating somebody and I'm dating them now as a couple. I'm dating that couple. But
You you get they basically are your parents.
they basically are my parents.
Yeah.
Basically. But I'm also like Carly's mother as well. So it's weird. But
It's a weird dynamic.
yeah, but also
But yes, back to the story. She does have multiple partners, and it's no longer a hidden secret. It's just a thing. And
yeah.
I gotta say, like at this point, I was just so mad that Callias would just let her go.
Yeah. And so we see as she's reading her sister's letter, somebody comes to knock at the door and you're like, "Oh, who's there?" And she's like, "I really don't want to be talked to right now," because she's like, she's sad that like she had to leave Claudius behind because she left before he even like said anything to her. She left because she was banished, and lo and behold, Claudius is there, and I'm just like, oh.
I'm like, yes,
He
yes.
comes back and he's like, let me find what he says, but it was just like so.
It just made you kind of like kudos to you.
So he like this is one of the things he's always been feared of dying this whole book, and she's always saying like most kings are mortal, like
Mhm.
other places have kings that are mortal. What makes you so special that you think you could outlive that? And like when are you going to lose your humanity? There's a lot of talk about like how long do you live before you actually start to lose your humanity, because like they had a king for like 700 years.
Because of his power,
Yeah,
he can live
yeah,
for
forever.
um but that has to do with like him being able to phase, and if he has somebody who he touches, he becomes mortal in his physical form. When he's solid, he ages normally. When he's like a phantom, um able to phase through anything, he is immortal essentially. And the old king, he died because he ended up falling in love and settling down and having kids, and then he died.
Mhm.
He lived mortally and he died mortally, and Callias had always planned never to have someone to just live forever, and that was his thing.
That was his plan, and like we see at the very end, like they reconnect. He forgives her. He believes her that she ended her plan to kill him. Like he knows that she started wanting to kill him, and I think that kind of like he liked that. I think he definitely was like, oh, oh, but
It's just he is definitely someone who would appreciate the knife against the throat trope,
yeah.
because he likes that danger. He likes that that she's willing to go after him. He liked that about her.
One honorable mention for this book is the letter scene where he finds the letter that Lord Elias wrote to her. It's like a love letter that he sent away, and he's reading it to. He found it in her room, and he's reading it, and it's like that scene where like
Reads
they're
it.
around.
He reads it out loud.
Yeah, he reads it out loud and is laughing at it because it's so fun. He finds it hilarious that the guy can't write a love letter, and he like reads it aloud and she's like embarrassed.
Yeah, and this is before like this is like them becoming friends. Like nothing has happened between them. This is still early on in the book. And then she just cannot deal with him writing this. And then he says something so smooth that literally just made me go like, oh,
And
oh,
also she was also though like, this is like the first love letter that anybody's written to me.
yeah. And
And
she says,
he
what
was
is
kind of like, that's embarrassing. He's like, this is not a love letter. Um, but so like I think that was an honorable mention for.
no, but say what he says right after that. He
Oh,
says like,
I have to find it. I don't remember where it's.
no, you have to look for it.
I have to look for it.
He says
Okay, you
something
talk and
like,
I'll look for it.
he says something so smooth and so like, because he's friends with her at this point. He's not, he can make fun of her and they can joke about it and all these things, but he has not shown romantic interest in her. And when this happens, this is still in the midst of like Elita's like still chasing after her and wanting her. and she is evading him enough, but she likes it. She likes being doted on. She likes being chased after. And Callias isn't really doing it too much besides their friendship. So the fact that this letter was her first love letter and the fact that he was making fun of it was just like mortifying to her. But he says this one thing when he walks out, and Maggie, I hope you can find it, because it's literally one of my favorite quotes. If I had my book, I'd probably have it marked. um Let me see if I can find it up. We're going to take a quick pause here, guys, and forgive us for this podcast being like all over the place, because it's been a while since I read this book. Okay. um
It was before she came into the queen's rooms, right? It's before she started living in there, right?
mhm, yes.
Um, is it
Oh,
after?
fuck. No, that's not what it is. I was gonna say it's this. Tell me. You don't need to read a letter. Just tell me.
Oh, that was at the end.
Okay, and I know.
Yeah. Or yeah, that was at the end when like he like brought a letter for her to
Which is the
read.
point that we're trying to get to. But it's important why this one quote, my goodness. Oh, and her sister's name is Chrysantha, and I was just like so, yeah, about her name. My goodness, can we find this thing? It's so it's really irritating me that we can't find this. You know what? I'm gonna just skim over what I think it was. It was basically he's just like, if you want a love letter, then I will write you one that is deserving of you, or something like that. But it's basically him saying, like, if you want me to write you love letters, I can do much better than this, because this is nothing. Gosh, why can I not find this quote? If you're listening and you find this quote, please message it to me, because it is absolutely like one of my favorite thing. How can we
I
not?
can't find it. I'm so sorry. We'll have to like in the next episode we'll do a quick recap at the beginning, but I think this is where we have to end this episode because it is 10:12 p.m. for me. Grace, do you have any honorable mentions besides that scene? Um,
No, that's the one.
that's the
Uh,
only one.
but like the reason why that letter scene is important is because towards the end he does bring a love letter to her, and she's just like, you don't need a letter, just tell me what it is. And he's like, I want you. And he basically tells her, like, I want you. I love you. You're despicable, you're conniving, but you're wonderful and you're beautiful, and I love the mind that you have, and I want you to be my queen, and I want you to be my queen and my friend. And they kiss and live happily ever after. Mortal lives that they do. And the fact that this book had so much action towards the end, but so much scheming and plotting throughout the book, was utterly amazing. It kept me on my toes. This book could have been longer. I would have appreciated it being longer, because by the time I realized I was almost done with the book, I was not ready for it to end. I really liked everything about it, the world building, the fashion, the food, his little stolen glances, his brushes of his glove against her skin. Those moments just made your heart flutter, and their minds are just beautiful. And it was honestly such a great read. I am going to be reading the other two books in The Daughter of the Pirate
Yeah.
Queen.
It's the daughter of a pirate king and then the daughter of a siren queen. I have the daughter of a pirate king.
Okay.
I the amount of book series that I have that I need to read. I need to read The Daughter of Smoke and Bone. I need to read The Scythe. I need to read the Graceling series, and these are books that I have the whole series of too. So thankfully I have the whole series so that I can just, I think over the summer I'm gonna like binge read a bunch of series is
Yeah.
what I think I'm gonna try to do, because
You
that's what
should.
I did January is I just binge read a bunch of series. So
Yeah, I think and then this was probably not a great example of like how we're going to do a book podcast because we were all over the place with this one.
we're trying to find out what fits best for us.
How would you guys want it? Would you
Yes.
guys want to go scene by scene or major plot points,
Mhm.
quotes that we liked? Let us know what you guys like. We'll do an Instagram post for you guys to leave suggestions on how we do these. We will be doing um our next book podcast will probably be
It's gonna
with
be next Friday. It's next Friday. It's gonna be We Hunt the Flame is the next one.
already.
Yeah.
Sheesh,
I mean, you'll have a week to read it because you're done with A Court of Silver Flames.
that's true. I
Uh,
don't have it with me though.
well, are you going
If
home this
you
week?
guys, if you guys didn't know, I'm not in my usual room. It's because I am at my new place. We are remodeling it. If you see paint on my shirts, for those YouTube listeners, I have been painting for the past week. um we've been doing flooring and all of these things, and my books are not with me. In fact, I only have two books with me, both of which I have read already. um so maybe I can get my dad to come up here. I'm not going to go home soon. My bookish box is at home too. So many things are at home. um but
Did you?
yeah,
How many clothes did you bring with you?
to be honest, I only brought like 4 days worth of clothes and then went to like Walmart and bought like a whole bunch of sweats and t-shirts and painting clothes. It's been
So
fun.
we're gonna end it right here, and then Grace and I are probably gonna talk a little bit more because we always do.
Last
So
thing, real quick, we are going to be doing an Akosif um two-part series about talking about the book. We will do half of the book on one episode and the second half in another
yeah,
episode. We will be doing that after March 16th, so a full month for the book release. Giving people enough time to have read it, but we do want to update you guys that we are going to be doing that. So if you do want to listen to that episode, make sure that you have read Akosif. A month has
and
gone by.
yeah.
It'll be full spoilers.
I'm also gonna have a I'm gonna do a Instagram questions Q&A, and it's gonna be, what do you want us to talk about for the episode? Like, and it can be negatives. You can talk about certain negativities of this book and criticism of Sarah J. Maas. We're gonna have a two-part episode, so it's gonna be a special thing where we're gonna upload twice, not in one day. We're gonna upload the first half on Wednesday and then the second half on Friday. And the second half will have special guests. I'm not going to reveal who it is now. If they decide to come on, well, we'll definitely have them feature on. But we want to thank you guys so much for listening, so much for your support as well. And we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.